Okay, what is it that we must do that I wanted to add very quickly for you regarding the lookup and the browse lookup? Well, let's say a user has gotten the lookup correctly. He typed in VALA, and whether he got it by directly typing in a code or whatever, he's now in the next field. Our browse, when we typed in VALA, it didn't fill in. One thing it didn't fill in is the customer code. We only grabbed the address from the other file. Okay? And we should have grabbed the customer code also because that's what we're looking for. This really should have turned into vala, whatever it is. Let's delete out of here. Let's go into the processing. And I'll go for this. Down here, when we found what we want, one of the things we also want to fill in is field 3. And we want to fill it in with VGC. I think it's 19. By now we should remember this. 19, but let me look for sure. F6, VG underscore customers. The customer code is 19. So we want to fill in field 3 too because we only typed in part of it. Okay, let's go make sure this functions the way it should. And then there's one other small thing I'd like to show you. If I go to B, screen 1, add a record, and I type in VALA. Now I hit enter. It's going to come up with all these codes. Let's pick this one. I go down here and hit enter. See how it filled in also the customer code. And this is very, very important that when you do a lookup, you fill in all parts that have to be filled up on the screen. Not only the key field you use may even need some adjusting. And if I press the down arrow, notice that it's probably doing an exact lookup now. Every time I leave this field, it's doing an exact lookup, isn't it? Because I have it all typed in, and it's not bringing up a browse, and it's not erroring, so it must be doing an exact lookup. We had that built in. Let's go look at that. Here's a little fix for this, or a little enhancement. We're learning a little bit each time of how you slowly modify things to work better and better and better. This particular lookup happens no matter what. As soon as they type in a field, if they don't leave it blank, if they leave that field, it does this lookup. It better be exact. It will just pop in all the fields, display an end. If it's not exact, it will put up this browse. How can we change this so that it only does the lookup once? It doesn't do it if it's already filled in correctly. If it's filled in correctly, we don't want to do the lookup again. So here's a way we can deal with that. We can say, when entering field 3, let's pick a variable. Just any, we'll declare one. How about that? Although I'd rather declare it. So let's just pick a real variable. Let's pick one of the 2 character variables. How about O? Just O by itself. That's a variable, A through Z, a single letter variable called O. We'll say O equals field 3, and then we'll end. So what I'm doing is when I enter the field, I'm sticking the value that I find in that field right as I enter it into field O. Okay? Now, when I leave that field, if I don't leave it blank, if I put something in it, I can say, push this down and say, if 3 is equal to O, what it used to be, then end. Because I don't need to do the lookup. It's the same field that we had in there before. Let's see. I mean, you're not going to see any difference, but I'm going to explain it by showing you one more time. If I go to screen 1 and I go do a lookup and I do Acme 1000, I get an exact lookup. Now, if I press the up arrow and I'm back in this field again, if I change it to something else, it should force another lookup. But if I leave it alone and I hit enter, there's no reason to go do another lookup. It's got the right data in those other fields. And I do that by saying, as I enter the field, like now, right at that moment, I take a snapshot of that field and put it in the variable called O. And now O is filled up. And when I leave, O is filled up with Acme 1000. Now I'm going to leave the field. When I hit enter, is the field 3 equal to what was in it before? In O, is 3 equal to O? Yes, it is, so don't do the lookup. This is a very, very popular way of not wasting computer cycles. This variable could be anything. It could be E. You can put it in AA as long as you test right after you make sure the field is not null. Is AAA. doesn't really matter. You could declare a variable somewhere. Declare a variable called, old value. Okay, and upon entering every field, you could say old value equals that particular field, end. Then when you leave the field, you can always check to say if that field is equal to old value, then end. Don't bother dropping down and doing all this lookup stuff. Very important functionality.